That's the one thing about our audience. They always want a new guy to break through the glass ceiling.
All you have to do is just be real.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. I am the jabroni beating, pie eating, trailblazing, eyebrow raising, talking is done, you're out of your class, no sleep till Brooklyn, The Rock whips your ass. Woo!
I wish you and King would quit talking.
Welcome to Around the Ring, episode 83. It is Sunday, February 12th, 2017. It is Valentine's Day week. Give some love to someone you love, or if you don't have someone, hug someone just randomly. It'll be nice. They might enjoy it. I am one half of your host, Dave Brown. I'm joined with, as always, by Floyd Johnson Jr. How you doing, sir?
I am doing well. Going on the Valentine's Day thing, I did want to mention that at some point this show, the flowers from my girlfriend might be delivered, so I might have to take a little break. And second, even if you don't have anyone to buy for, if you know someone that's a little lonely and down, a gift, no matter who it's from on Valentine's Day, just to let them know you're thinking of them, will always brighten their day. That it will. So this weekend, tonight, we've got the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view event. It's a SmackDown only pay-per-view. Seems just like yesterday we had a pay-per-view because we damn near did. And we're going to go over predictions of that here in a little bit after we go over the SmackDown show for the week. And tomorrow on our YouTube channel, we will post our Elimination Chamber review. So if you're not following the show on the YouTube, get on it, youtube.com/AroundTheRingOK. Also, in case you didn't know, because I always forget to mention these things during the show, there are plenty of different ways you can catch Around the Ring. We are available on Spreaker. You can get us on iTunes. We're on Stitcher. We're on TuneIn. So any of those platforms that you want to listen to the show, you can, and that would be fantastic. We appreciate you listening in any way that you can. And if you listen on the iTunes and on the Stitcher, leave us a little review there. That'd be kind of awesome to hear what you guys think. So this week we're going to just start with Raw. Start at the beginning. Yeah, let's start with Raw.
All right. Raw was in Portland, Oregon, which is, I will say, they were Raw and SmackDown this week were in the Pacific Northwest, and I often joke with my wife that if we ever get a chance to retire, which is a gigantic if, but if we do, we're headed to the Pacific Northwest where it's always spring and fall because I can't do the hot. So Portland, Oregon, and so the show started out with Mick Foley and Stephanie in the ring, bringing out Samoa Joe to sign his contract. What'd you think of this?
Okay, so it's funny. I don't know if we got any 100% loyal listeners, but you will notice one of my first shows, I was talking about putting Samoa Joe as kind of an enforcer character and putting him in a suit. And Samoa Joe comes out in a suit. Even when he was in the main event Mafia, he was the one person that never wore a suit. He always dressed normally just like Samoa Joe. So it was kind of interesting to see him in a suit. Some people loved it, like I did. Some people didn't like it. Apparently, from rumors, the idea was to get off the idea that he was like a mafia hitman, which I truly believe is the perfect character for Samoa Joe. I don't think he's a WWE character where they will ever push him as the world champion, like really push him. He might win the title one day, but they won't ever get behind him. So if you are in that enforcer mafia type character, you always have a storyline to go to, and being consistently on the show is the most important part. So as far as this, I really like the dissension between Stephanie and Mick, and I really like that Samoa Joe was like 2 seconds away from beating up Mick.
Yeah, I thought Joe's promo was excellent.
Yes.
Here, this was the interesting thing. He cut this great promo. Roman Reigns came out to some cheers. I mean, there were boos, but this was not a decidedly anti-Roman Reigns city, which I thought was quite interesting. And Roman was, I think some of it is lately Roman's just been badass, cocky Roman, which is the best Roman to have. And if he keeps playing that up, that's cool. I mean, it's still, at least he's giving people a reason to boo him, not other than just, you're booing me because I'm Vince McMahon's boy, and we all know it. Now it's, you're booing me because I'm acting like a dick.
Yeah.
So that's definitely better, and the Samoan Showdown was kind of cool. So yeah, I thought this was a really good overall opening segment.
Quote of the night from Samoa Joe: "I'll come out here night after night, beat down the heroes and choke them out. When they wake up, I'll do it all over again. The Destroyer has arrived, and there's nothing you can do about it." I just thought that was just how he delivered it. It was powerful, and it just pretty much summed up his whole promo.
Yeah.
That section is it's like, if you're like, hey, what was Samoa Joe trying to get across? There you go.
Yeah, that he will basically kill you. And he has the air that, he's not the tallest dude. He's not a ripped guy, but he definitely has that air of, I will kill you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm hoping they don't screw this up, which is something we say often with WWE bringing in really, really good talent from other organizations. And just in general, you just really hope they don't screw it up. And it's off to a good start, though I will say I wasn't quite happy with the main event, but we'll get there.
I feel like he's protected. If you notice, when they're Triple H guys, their call-up, people tied to Triple H, they don't really jack around with their character. They are who they are, and they let them play it well. It's generally when they're not Triple H guys. Like, they fed us, Sin Cara was a Triple H guy, and they pushed him down our throat as much as they possibly could. They did everything they could to get Sin Cara over. It just didn't work.
Yeah, it's because Sin Cara sucks.
Yeah.
Both of them. The only thing, though, I would say Tyler Breeze was a bit of a Triple H guy, and he got buried.
He got buried, and then he's kind of gotten fixed. They got him kind of in the perfect role now. He's more of a comedic, that whole fashion police type thing. I could even see them going a different way. But he gets TV time.
Yeah, he's definitely taking chicken shit and turning it into chicken salad.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
And I mean, they're a kind of popular tag team. Their segments are always over for me.
Oh yeah, I love Tyler Breeze. He is one of the absolute best freak out faces. I was like him and Rusev, and there are a couple other people that I can't remember, but that just when something doesn't go right, his meltdowns are fantastic. And it's a shame that and we've said this before, but it's a shame that he hasn't gotten the respect he hasn't gotten the kind of push he should have, because you go back and you watch those takeover main events that he was part of, those takeover matches, and this guy can wrestle. He is really, really good, and it's a shame that he just doesn't get a chance to show it, But yeah, maybe the Fashion Police will be that vehicle for him.
I had a conversation earlier this week with another wrestling friend of mine, and she was doing a report for her school, and she really wanted to drive home why wrestling is not a sport, and that was like things like this is the reason it's not a sport. It's not a meritocracy. You can have all the talent in the world in wrestling, but because you have producers and writers who decide who wins, pretty much they decide who the stars are. So that's why it can't be a sport, because even in that other type of competition you're talking about for the best match and everything, you can put on the best match every night, and if they don't want you to be a star, you won't be, and it's okay. It's okay. It's just that was my determining difference to make it not a sport.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. Well, what else did you have from?
I dig what they're doing with Nia. I mean, my points are in order, even though we're not going line through the show. But I dig what they're doing as the female Strowman. I'm just don't know what's next. It's like right now, you fed her Sasha, you fed her Bayley. I mean, Charlotte's the only thing next, and they don't seem like they're going there. So it's kind of like, is she going to go back to squashing people? Is she going to be Charlotte's heavy? Or, you know, I want to see. I'm interested in what's going on with that.
Well, maybe we'll find out tomorrow night when Emelina returns. Yeah, it's not going to happen. How many times they told us, Emelina's coming, and nope, not going to. Anyway, yeah, I don't.
Point where it'll be a shocking return when she actually returns when they say she's going to return.
And you know, the sad thing about this whole Emelina thing is they're definitely doing up the whole diva aspect because she's a beautiful woman, and they just keep showing these same pictures of her looking all good and stuff. But lost in all of this is the fact that girl can wrestle. Like, she is really, really good, and it's just I don't know. I really liked the chips glasses cop thing she had going on. I thought that was kind of semi-dominatrix thing. I liked that gimmick. So I don't know how this Emelina gimmick is going to work. I would like to just see her and Dana Brooke get back together as a team and just destroy people.
Her and Paige, what few people don't realize is her and Paige at the first takeover was the match that really set the NXT women's division apart. And it was as much Paige as it was, much M as it was Paige. So she can really go, when she's, not even when she's given a partner, she's a professional. So she can go no matter who's on the other side of the ring. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with her. I'm just hoping, they push her in a different way. Push her. There's different ways to push people. I just want to see something different.
Yeah. So with Nia, I don't know what you do either. I have a feeling this is leading toward a fatal 4-way match between Nia, Sasha, Bayley, and Charlotte at Mania. We had a fatal or a triple threat last year, which was a great match. But this is one of those cases where you compare the shows Raw and SmackDown, and you compare what they're doing with their women's division, and you look at the fact that at the next SmackDown pay-per-view, the one tonight, there are 3 single women's division matches, and Raw is just only really has what's going on with the title picture, and they're sort of doing the story with Nia and Sasha. But it's like a night and day difference it's a situation where on paper the division on Raw is much, much stronger than on SmackDown. But SmackDown is doing so much better with their women and just better in general. And this, I think, is a highlight of it, because you're looking at this and you're like, well, where do we go from here?
Yeah, all the women on SmackDown are featured. Even Carmella, who's not in a feud, is featured with James Ellsworth. They use their 7 or 8 women better than Raw uses their 4 elite women. It's just crazy. It's just they have 2 separate women's storylines going on SmackDown, which I was actually going to bring up when we talked about SmackDown. But they got 2 separate women's that have nothing to do with the belt, and it are actually intriguing.
Exactly. And that is really nice and refreshing. So, there was the what'd you think of the whole Braun Strowman versus 4 jobbers thing?
Actually, I didn't even make a note of it because it was just so pointless to me.
Yeah, I agree. It was ridiculous. One thing I did make a note of: Akira Tozawa. This man is great. I loved the vignette. The match he had with Drew Gulak, I thought he did a good job. He got a nice little pop when he came in. He did a really good job getting the crowd invested. That guy has charisma, and I think he's going to be a standout in that show, in Division and in 205 Live. And I was floored that Michael Cole actually name-dropped the Dragon Gate dojo. I was like, did the words Dragon Gate just come out of Michael Cole's mouth? Did that really happen? But hey, it was cool.
You know what I feel like they're missing from the Cruiserweight division?
What?
Mike Tenay. I remember when the WCW Cruiserweight division was in, he just provided so much background and color to who each person was, and he really delved into their character. And I don't think either Corey or Cole can pull that off right now. It's just not getting that story that makes... Because what you're trying to do is tell these stories, not for the people. Hopefully the match tells the story and gets the crowd into it, but you're trying to get the people at home to invest in these characters. And I just don't think they do it well enough. I know their video packages are world famous, but most times when a vignette comes on, I go to the bathroom. I don't really watch the vignettes. It's just like, there was a vignette, and then I left. So I just think they need the commentators to better get these wrestlers over. Because some of these wrestlers were only on the Cruiserweight Classic, and not everyone watched that.
Which is a shame. But yeah, you're right. And their vignettes, admittedly, their vignettes are normally excellent. Their vignettes for the Cruiserweights, post-Cruiserweight Classic, haven't been that good. I mean, they've just been clips of them flying around in the Cruiserweight Classic, and a little snippet of an interview, and that's about it. And they have not given these guys time to really let them learn about the characters, with the exception of Mustafa Ali, who's had the most character development, I think, of all of them. And he's slowly getting over. He's getting good better reactions. And when we get to 205 Live, we'll talk about that. But I think this week's 205 Live, they got some of the best reactions they've gotten for almost the entire show. Because normally, that show happens, or the Cruiserweight segment's on Raw, and the crowd gets, deadly silent. And there were moments in the matches that happened, but it's slowly getting better. And I think people are really getting behind Jack Gallagher. They really like Neville as a heel because he's been awesome. They're starting to get behind Mustafa Ali. They still like Cedric Alexander, though I think he's lost a little bit of steam, and I think that has entirely everything to do with the booking. And I think it's slowly, as people are watching these characters more, they're getting to know them a little bit better. They're getting over more, but it's almost in spite of what's WWE's doing, because they're not doing enough to let you learn who these characters are. And you're right, it's the commentary has a big part of that. And Morrow does his best on 205 Live to help out with this, but you really need Michael Cole stepping up and telling about who these guys are, giving their background and whatnot. And I mean, I think it's got to be Cole's job, because that just works better for him, I think, because Corey he throws in good information too, but he's also, I'm trying to think how to explain this. It's like it makes sense in my head, I just can't figure out the words, if you know what I mean. And Aries is just there to be the heel, and he is so good. And it made me so sad in a way. This is terrible, but it made me really sad to hear that he's been cleared to return to action, because I don't want him to. I want him to stay in the booth. And he's doing main event, apparently. Not that I watch it. But
yeah, I honestly didn't even know they still filmed that show.
Yeah.
I'm being 100% serious. I didn't even know main event was still a thing.
Yeah, and they film it during either before or after Raw.
Yeah, I don't generally pay attention to those matches, so okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm not joking. I mean, I want to be 100% clear. I love wrestling, but most of those matches, it's like, I think it's a Hulu exclusive show, right?
Hulu and WWE Network, yeah.
Yeah. You would think you would put some stars on there, to draw.
Yeah, they did. I think when Main Event first debuted, they had some big matches, and every once in a while they'll put something important on there. but for the most part, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of production time. It's a waste of Hulu's time. It's a waste of everyone's time.
How can we monetize our pre-show matches? And they tried to do it main event. No one watches it. No one even talks about it. Like, it would have never come up on the show if you had not have said that right there.
Exactly. Like, every once in a while, before they did the brand split, there was, like, Sasha and Becky, I think, had a really, really good 15-minute match on main event. And I think what main event is, it's they give them longer matches, but they're never main eventers, really. So, yeah. But moving on, what'd you think of the Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho in-ring promo with Tom Brady making the list?
I thought Tom Brady making the list thing was funny, and I wanted to really enjoy this promo, but I knew what was coming, so I really, really hated it.
Oh, you knew Goldberg was on his way out?
Oh my God. I knew Goldberg was coming out. I knew what he was coming out to say. I knew what was happening. And this is not internet spoiler thing. It just seemed obvious. And I'm very not happy with it. Like I said, I've always said this, and a friend of mine was like, Goldberg, I was like, I put a meme up of, Goldberg loses in the Royal Rumble and then gets a title shot. And he's like, who else are they going to put it on or whatever? And I was like, anybody else. You have a roster full of talent that you're trying to build. You have a roster full of talent that you're trying to make the next Goldberg or The Rock or Stone Cold. You could give anyone a shot. If it was KO versus Big Cass at Fastlane, I would be okay with that. Just, try to build on the talent that you have. Goldberg's a 50-year-old man that was obviously green. In my opinion, obviously slower. And it's just, the fact of the matter is, all he does is the spear. And it's like, okay, I do understand wrestling is a script, but I feel like if you're trying to tell the story that these people are trying to win, I feel like you've watched a Goldberg match before, so you move out the way or kick or something. True. Now, he only does the same thing over and over again. But yeah, it honestly, it was one of those points in times where it just made my stomach hurt. I watched it all because I am a loyal WWE fan who I can bitch and moan all I want to, but I know I'm not going to turn the channel. So I watched it, and, Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho were bantering and funny, and then the old guy comes out.
What'd you think of Goldberg putting his name on the list himself? I actually liked that. I thought that was pretty funny.
That was a change. And it was cool. It was cool. It was, you know what? It's one of those, admittedly, as much as I don't want him around, that was kind of awesome. It's like, I'm that big of a badass. I will put myself on the list. Damn it, I'll do it twice, because you're not going to do anything about it.
So, we're going to do our Fastlane predictions, whenever the hell that is, next week or sometime.
They at least give us 2 weeks before pay-per-view.
Okay, good. Because there's so many. You think Goldberg's winning the belt?
I don't think so. My idea is that Brock Lesnar actually cost him the title. And I think that's what's going to happen. It doesn't really make sense because him costing Goldberg the title stops him from getting a title shot. So
yeah, I don't know. I read the idea of Brock Lesnar being the champion again, though. I didn't really enjoy his last run.
Yeah.
If it ends with Shinsuke Nakamura beating him for the title or Samoa Joe beating him for the title, then I'm completely okay with it. Then let's
see it with Samoa Joe winning him for the title. That we can 110% say that. I don't see Samoa Joe winning either of the world titles. He might be an Intercontinental or U.S. champion. I don't see him winning either of the world titles. He may prove me wrong, and I will be happy as hell if that is proven wrong. But I don't see him winning either of the world titles. Shinsuke, the night after Raw, Brock Lesnar comes back and says he's conquered the only person that's conquered him, like you said. And, Paul Heyman going on that, Paul Heyman goes on his rants about how great Brock Lesnar is, and he's feeling so froggy that he challenges anybody in the back to come out, and anybody in the back to come out and challenge him. And I wouldn't want it to happen at the pay-per-view. I want Nakamura to win the title the night after WrestleMania.
That would be so freaking cool. Oh man, can you imagine the place would erupt? Because it's in Orlando. It is in Orlando, right? I'm not getting my cities mixed up again.
Nope, it's in Orlando.
So home of NXT. So that crowd will A, be smarky as all hell, and B, probably a decent number of folks from Orlando that have loved Nakamura for the last year. So if he came out, oh my God, it would erupt. It would be so awesome. Now, okay, so if as you mentioned with Joe, so if Joe won, would he not become the first person to ever hold the Ring of Honor, TNA, and WWE championships?
So AJ was never the ROH champion?
Right, and AJ was never ROH champion.
Okay, so yeah, he would cut his own niche there, because he would be. No, you said Ring of Honor, TNA, and WWE?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, because Seth Rollins never won the TNA belt.
Right.
So
yeah, no, we've had a number of former Ring of Honor champions have been WWE champions. Punk, Bryan, Rollins.
Rollins was the first NXT ROH WWE champion.
Correct. And Rollins was the first NXT champion to become WWE champion.
Yeah.
So AJ was the first person to be the TNA, IWGP, and WWE champion.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very interesting when it comes, and it's very interesting because Joe has, he's one of those people. He's a wrestler's wrestler. He's survived a lot of years. And like I said, I could see maybe being the champion on SmackDown, but I honestly don't see him being the world champion. I think they got him in the character they're going to want him to play.
Yeah, I think that character could be champion. I would like, because he is so good, he's so believable, and he is one of the best, if not the best, straight up heel in the company. And granted, he doesn't need to be champion. He's, in a lot of ways, he's kind of Arn Anderson-y in that role. Arn Anderson was never a world champion, but he was always in the top mix of things. So I would just like to see him. I would like to see that because, yeah, he would be the first person to be Ring of Honor, TNA, NXT, and WWE champion.
Yeah, and I would be very, very happy for him because he is one of my favorite wrestlers. He's definitely in my top 5. I love Joe. Don't get me wrong. My thought process was WWE. His style is kind of rough. It's like when you work with Joe, you worked with Joe. That kind of thing. And I just don't know if they would put that on the world title but he's a perfect foil for Roman Reigns. And somebody made a joke, and I didn't realize this, that Roman Reigns' name is Joe, right? And he's Samoan. So at the Royal Rumble, we did get Samoa Joe.
Yep, you're right. Oh my God.
Someone pointed it out. I was listening to Schedule for One Fall podcast, and they was like, we didn't get the Samoan Joe that we wanted at the Royal Rumble. And I thought that was the funniest joke because I never even put 2 and 2 together. In my head, his name is Roman. I forget that he has a real name.
Yeah. And the other thing is Samoa Joe's one of the only Samoans that's been in WWE that's not from that one big-ass family.
Well, and it's funny because the only reason that they're the one big-ass family, and I honestly found this out within the last year, is, The Rock, the Maivia family and the Noy family became blood brothers, so now they're all cousins. But yeah, so most of them aren't actually related.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like
yeah, but Samoans, small island, so there are a lot of people that are actually related, unfortunately. So, but as far as I understand, like The Rock and Roman Reigns actually have no real blood relation. It's just their families are really, really close. So, The Rock puts them over, unlike Nia Jax, who is actually his real cousin.
Right, they're all through marriage and whatnot. They are all part of the same gigantic family. If you want to break down specific relationships, they're probably not cousins, but if they are, they're like 5 times removed or 8 times removed, and that stuff gets real confusing. Breaking down like the whole who is cousin where, and there's this whole idea of you're all part of the same family, but are you specifically related? And if you really think about that stuff, it can make your head hurt.
Yeah, I just say they are whatever they say they are. So if The Rock says Roman's his cousin, hey, Roman's his cousin.
Yeah,
and not gonna fight him on it.
Oh yeah, yeah, and people you have a random family member. The easiest thing to say is we're cousins.
Yeah,
because that kind of falls into the whole we're related somehow. But what else did you have from Raw?
All right, pushing Enzo and Cass as a legit tag team. I did like that they got them out the picture for a while, kind of let you forget to let them win the rivalry with Rusev and Jinder Mahal, and now they're going back in the title picture. I truly believe this is going to set up a multi-tag team title at Mania, because I honestly think I don't think a tag match, unless you've been building it for a long time, really gets over at Mania. But if you have like a 4 corners match or something like that, I would like to see TLC come back to Mania. I've been wanting it to come back for a very, very long time. But that's 8 people in the match, and then you have the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. So we got to see how that works out.
Yeah, exactly. It was a match. I really like Cesaro and Sheamus together. I love the fact that I love that Cesaro has gotten Sheamus over as a babyface, even though he still acts like a heel. And he's so good at that. It's like we have found the perfect spot for Sheamus. And
it reminds me of Luger and Sting when they tagged up for a while, where Sting was clearly the face and Luger was clearly a heel.
Yeah. Who would be the 4th team if you had Cass and Enzo, Gallows and Anderson, Sheamus and Cesaro? The New Day?
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of, what'd you think of the New Day saying they want ice cream? I guess they're trying to be CM Punk now. They want their own ice cream. And facing the Shining Stars. That just seemed like a filler, honestly.
It wasn't a filler. It's a way to get the New Day on the show. They keep the crowd in the show. They keep the energy of the show. And by them winning, you keep them in the title picture and keep them from becoming irrelevant. That's how you could say they stay in that 4 team. I love the New Day, and I love the fact that Xavier, he's all about the New Day. He's like, most people thought they lost the title and then they were breaking them up. Those 3 are such tight friends, they really don't want to break up this group. So they would like Kofi to get pushed more towards the World Championship, which, I wouldn't mind because I think he deserves it, but it's just they have to stay relevant, but they needed to be out of the title picture for a little while.
Wait, they want Kofi or Big E in the title picture?
The 3 of them as a group want Kofi to be.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see. I would like. Yeah, no, I'm thinking Vince would want Big E up there, but Kofi. Yeah, I would like to see Kofi in a main event program. And
I think you have to go to SmackDown for that to happen.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I love the fact that the New Day have stayed together, and I don't see them, even if they go, if they focus on singles careers, they don't need to break up the group. I mean, at times, the 4 Horsemen were 4 singles wrestlers. Yeah. That's been a thing. So,
to me, you only break up the group if you plan on pushing one of them. into the title picture. I don't just break up the group to make them like an Intercontinental Champion.
Right.
If you're going to break up the group, Big E, Kofi, even Xavier, I don't care which one it is, if you're going to break up the group, he should be immediately in the title picture.
That's true. I'd rather them not break up the group and still put one of them in the title picture. And I think they also, though, know, they probably see the light. They're like, together, we are money, and we make money. Apart, we have done that, and it doesn't work out so well.
And they're still selling a crap ton of merchandise, which is the name of the game.
Right, and as they shouldn't, even though I called this segment kind of filler, I enjoyed it. It was one of my favorite parts of the show. Anytime they come out, I smile and I have fun. Even if it is a, hey, we're just putting them out here so you don't forget about them segment. Because that's really what this was. And it was also to keep the crowd energized. So then that did lead into a Sami Zayn, your favorite, match against Chris Jericho. The thing I'll say about this is Jericho's backstage interview beforehand, he has some of the best facial expressions. It just that just cracks me up. His like look of disgust that's all I really had to say.
Well, let me just say this: the GOAT thing. You know, I can say this: as much on this run, I've started looking at what he is now and where he has come from and all the different characters he's played. And he is slowly moving up my list as one of the greatest of all time because he is the one of the most versatile people in wrestling history.
Oh yeah, he is definitely in that conversation
because he's just so versatile. He has played crazy, he has played mean, he has played arrogant, he has played power hungry, and he's funny, then he's serious. He's everything.
Yeah. You're right. One other thing I did want to say about this, at some point, Sami Zayn needs to actually win a match with the Blue Thunder Bomb, because at this point, no one believes for a second that he's actually getting a pin with that thing. He needs to go on a streak of a couple of months where he actually wins matches with that move to get that move over.
Yeah, because it's a really good move, and I actually like it more than the Haluba kick.
Oh, it's a great freaking move. I mean, it's and it should be putting people out. It should be a finishing move. Did you anything else on that you wanted to bring up?
As far as the show, Austin Aries, he's more over than the cruiserweight people that he interviews.
Yeah, that was. I loved this whole segment going into the match. I just think they've done a much better job with the cruiserweights. They're getting better, even though I was complaining earlier. They are getting better, and I enjoyed this. I liked how all the five guys came out who were going to compete in the Fatal 5-Way, except poor Tony Nese got hurt during the match. So do you know what happened or how he got hurt or what?
All I've heard is the internet rumors, which is a heel injury, but I never saw it. Okay. I actually went back and tried to play it, and I couldn't see where he got hurt.
Yeah. There was a great... Michael Cole actually had a great line during this when he was talking about having Austin Aries out there. He said, having you out here is like replacing Nancy Grace with Diane Sawyer. And it was followed by silence, and it was because the three of them were just losing it, and that cracked me up. I like it when Michael Cole does stuff like that, and you get the feeling that was Michael Cole actually just being himself and not being screamed at by Vince McMahon. And those are the things that crack me up, and I think it's like I like Byron Saxton, I really do, but having Aries, Cole, and Graves they have a really good chemistry together, and I hate actually them putting over Michael Cole. But I got to be truthful when he does a good job. I like this entire thing. I like the match. Cedric's lumbar check out of nowhere was fantastic. Got a nice pop from the crowd. I'm just really hope they don't screw up Cedric because he's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing the role. He's playing his role right now really well. That is really my big thing with Cedric is that he's playing his role, and they are keeping his focus. Even when he talks, he always goes back to his goal is to win the title, which doesn't keep him. It doesn't. He's not losing focus, which is cool.
Yeah. There was basically two last things on the show, and we're talking about Jericho being in the discussion of greatest of all time. He is one of the only people in the world that could get the phrase "Festival of Friendship" over.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm watching that now, and when he was saying, I was like, my God, he just got the Festival of Friendship over. He's gold. He's gold. But then we had the main event, Roman Reigns taking on Samoa Joe. So here's my problem with this match. Samoa Joe should have won this clean.
See, I don't agree.
Really?
And it's very, very rare with me. It's Samoa Joe can't come on the first night and beat your biggest dude clean. I mean, seriously, if you do that, you have to put him in the title picture. And the goal is that he's the destroyer, and he's going to be doing Triple H's bidding. So and you're trying to build the Braun Strowman feud. So that had to happen the way it did. I don't agree all the time with what WWE does, but I felt like that match had to end that way. Okay. For the storylines that you're trying to tell right now.
Yeah.
Your storyline is, especially with Braun and Roman, there's not a lot of build up there, so you're trying to make the rivalry pretty intense fairly quickly.
True. Now, and I didn't put this on my notes, but Braun did actually attack Roman before Joe got the win, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I would have preferred it where Braun distracted Roman and not actually gotten physical.
Now, and I didn't watch the match again. I know that he did that. The move he did was pretty cool. It was like the corner slam that he does, but he did it off the ropes. It was almost like a boss man slam, but way better. And I just thought it looked so devastating when he did it.
Yeah, it's a variation of the rock bottom.
Yeah, and it looked so devastating when he did it. And I think he did just distract him, and he went up to the ropes to yell at Braun, and then Samoa hit him with the move, and then Braun, came in and beat him up a little bit more.
Okay, so, I'd have to go back and watch it.
I don't remember it all the way. I don't.
Yeah, you've given a good argument, so I concede the point. I loved the thank you Strowman chants that closed out the show. So you have anything else on Raw?
Just really happy that they're sticking with the Seth Rollins thing. It looks like they are pretty sure he's going to be back from WrestleMania, or I feel like they would have started a new gimmick for Triple H. Or I feel like they're giving it a few weeks maybe, and after Fastlane they'll make it really, if he's not coming back, they'll start a new feud for Triple H.
Yeah, good point. So let's move on to SmackDown. SmackDown was in Seattle, Washington, and the show opened up with Daniel Bryan. I love seeing Daniel Bryan in Seattle. That is just never gets old.
They let the crap out of him there.
They do. This whole opening segment, normally when shows open up with, in-ring talking segments, you kind of roll your eyes because most of the time, especially on Raw, they go on way too long. I thought this whole segment was great. I thought I enjoyed the whole thing. Miz's work with Daniel Bryan, him just the way he came out to huge boos. Baron Corbin coming out and telling Miz he really needs to learn to shut up, I thought was fantastic. Corbin.
They're getting away from Baron Corbin being a dick and just him being a badass.
Yeah, and it worked.
Yeah, it's actually working. My note is Baron Corbin is really starting to get comfortable in the lone wolf character, more of a badass, less of a dick.
Yeah, exactly. And he seemed more comfortable. And just the way he was delivering, the way he was speaking, it wasn't as stilted. It was just, he seemed a lot more comfortable. That's a good way of putting it. Ambrose and AJ both got huge pops. I love the AJ Styles chants and how he's trying to be heel. He's telling the crowd they suck, and they keep chanting his name.
Yeah, he does a good job. He does a good job of flipping that, though. He does a good job of saying, "Hey, you know what? Shut up." You know, like, he does a pretty good job of trying to get them out of chanting his name, even though, you know, it's really to no avail. It's not going to work because, you know, people. It's very few times, you know, people just recognize that you're just really good at what you do. No matter what character they put you in, you're just amazing at what you do.
Exactly. I mean, there was a point when it got to the point in WCW where no matter what Ric Flair was doing, he was getting pops. Because it just got to the point where everyone was like, yes, Ric Flair is the man. He and Arn Anderson, the Four Horsemen, would just get cheered no matter what.
Yeah, they did. They could have just broken Sting's leg, and they get cheered for it.
Exactly. This whole thing turned into a really good Fatal 4-Way match that Baron Corbin won. I thought it was a nice thing for him to get the win, which pretty much means he's not winning at the Elimination Chamber. But
yeah, well, everybody of those four, everybody's main focus should be getting Baron Corbin over.
Yep.
I know everybody wants money, but the other three are established. They're going to get their main events. He's the new guy, and you're trying to establish him as a badass. So definitely, I would, you know, in the match, I would let him, you know, do a lot of the work and, you know, be a badass.
Yeah, agreed. Then let's see. I'm not trying to go point by point, but I did want to say I thought the Luke Harper promo that they had, I thought that was really, really good.
Luke Harper promo is perfect.
Yeah,
push him in the monster in the closet type of character.
Exactly. And I have to say that whatever the hell that Nikki Bella Natalia thing that was just so painfully pre-recorded, I didn't watch it. I fast-forwarded through that crap. Did you watch that? That was awful.
I actually liked it. I thought it's awesome because it might be weird. I like it because it's so reality-based. They are saying real things. Everyone knows Cena doesn't want to have a kid or get married, and Natalia is throwing it at him. And you know they have to be close friends for her to just really go at it on those points of view. And Nikki doesn't really come back at the stuff like, why don't you and TJ have the kid yet or anything like that. She doesn't come back hard because she could go super bitchy. So they're really letting her play the face to Natty's heel right now. And I just think I really like Natty's performance more than I actually like the segment. Let me say that.
Okay, I mean, I probably didn't. I think what struck me is just when they're sitting there and you know, Tom Phillips is asking these questions, and it just seemed so obvious that it was pre-recorded, like she wasn't actually talking to him, or I don't know. It just that took me out of it so much that I was like, okay, fuck this.
I could see that, and you know, cool thing was they were actually in the building, so that worked out.
Yeah. Let's see. What'd you think of the Apollo Crews Dolph Ziggler match?
Nothing. I thought nothing of it. I just don't like Apollo Crews. I guess Dolph Ziggler beating the crap out of him does something, but to me, that's like putting Dolph over a jobber.
And what I thought was it was less than 5 minutes. It just ended. And I also thought it was telling how poor of a job they've done with Apollo Crews that when Ziggler's hitting him with chairs, the crowd is chanting one more time.
Yeah, because he's really boring.
Yeah, so there's a theory that because they're setting up a handicap match, and we'll talk about it when we do our Elimination Chamber preview here in a minute, but there are rumblings that maybe Crews might turn heel and join Ziggler to, you know, attack Lucha Dragon guy. So,
that would be cool. And you know, putting him over as kind of that Big E role that he played for a long time. Not necessarily as heavy, but it was kind of like they were partners more than anything.
Right. Yep. And, I mean, might as well. There's nothing going on with this guy. And it is a crime. I mean, we talk about often how WWE has screwed up folks that you just look at and you're like, how do you screw this up? How? But really, with Apollo Crews especially, maybe his only problem is he's not 6 inches taller. But
see, that's the whole thing. He looks like he has a WWE body. He's super athletic. He's just, I don't know. When they announced that he was signing with the WWE, I was in the line of, this guy is can't miss. And it just seems like they have missed so hard on him.
I think a part of the big problem is they brought him up to the main roster way too soon.
I do agree with that.
He needed a longer run in NXT not because he needed the NXT experience personally. The WWE crowd needed to get used to him more. And if you've got someone with a good NXT buzz, even the people that don't watch NXT will hear of that, and that helps when you come up. He didn't have that yet. He had a couple of really freaking good matches with Finn Balor. He had some really good matches with Tyler Breeze. But beyond that, I mean, he was there for like a cup of coffee. And
yeah, he was there. He was probably the shortest of anyone they brought in.
And he needed the time. He needed the time to establish his character for WWE, other than being happy, smiley guy. That was a big screw up, and they can't really send him back now. I mean, I guess they could if they do what what I hope they're going to do, which is when they do the next draft, have NXT involved and they shuffle people all over the place. But if they don't do that, he's got a lot of character development. So luckily, SmackDown is the show for it, and I really hope he does turn heel. What do you think of the whole dual contract signing?
I thought it was a different way to do it, and I guess the writer, we've always discussed that the writer from NXT was on SmackDown, and the one thing I always said is that guy knows how to make signing interesting, and the fact that it was very cool that the face was the one that broke it down and made sure she was the one that threw the first punch. That's what I was trying to get. Brain kind of froze for a second. The fact that she was the one that kicked her and started the crap, it was kind of cool because that usually doesn't happen that way. It's always the heel that throws the table on them or whatever.
Right. One thing that I really liked is the fact that Alexa Bliss got a nice pop when she came out. She has gotten her character work is so outstanding. It does make up for the fact that she's still really learning in the ring, but man, her character work is so good. I mean, she's leaps and bounds over some of the people, the guys and girls on the roster. But yeah, I loved this. I thought it was a really good contract signing, really entertaining. I thought everyone looked good. I think it's pretty safe to say that since Naomi was standing tall at the end, she's probably not winning the belt at Elimination Chamber, which is sad. I thought this would be a good time, but we'll talk about that in a minute. We then had what happened after there was a tag team thing? We had the big tag team. What do you think of that tag team match?
Pointless, useless, annoying. I hate just throw together matches. U3 versus U3. I hate those. I hate it when they used to do it in women's division just to try to get everybody on the show. I would have rather the Ascension. I love that the Ascension got the win because I feel like they have been. Those are a group of Triple H guys that have been buried. So they brought up the Ascension and they let them win. And I would have liked them to get more of a win in a singles match, maybe against Heath Slater and Rhino. I would have liked to see that happen more than the random 6-man type of thing.
Yeah. Rhino was super over. Man, Seattle loves them some Rhino.
They do. He's from Canada, so maybe he wrestled a lot of them.
Yep. And then I can't believe they tried to bill a John Cena Randy Orton match as the first time ever but I guess it was the first time ever on SmackDown Live.
Yes.
But John Cena, Randy Orton, 87 or whatever.
I thought they were going to try to do something different. I was really disappointed that we just got pretty much typical Randy Orton versus John Cena match.
Yeah. I mean, it was neither one was very motivated.
Was the cool part of the that whole segment.
Which part?
Bray Wyatt. I mean, he was the only thing that kept it interesting. How he was trying to control Randy and things like that. That was actually interesting. But other than that, I was pretty underwhelmed with the whole.
The best part was when Luke Harper came out and that gigantic pop he got when he clotheslined Bray Wyatt. That was very cool. But I still think this is going to lead to Randy Orton turning on Bray and saying, "I've played you the whole time," and then Luke Harper being the one to say to Bray, "I told you, I've been there with you through everything." And so that leads into Elimination Chamber. So let's do our predictions, because if we keep this conversation going, we'll just end up talking about it. So there's a pre-show match. Why, I don't know. Mojo Rawley is taking on Kurt Hawkins. Who fucking cares?
They're trying to get Mojo over as a singles competitor, so that's why we're getting this. I mean, that's it. I mean, it's not a we all of a sudden think Mojo's the greatest person ever. They're trying to get him over as a singles competitor. They've clearly been pushing his legitimate football athletic background, how strong he is. They've been really trying to get that over. So people will buy it when they start having them win matches. And poor Curtis Hawkins. I don't know. I mean, he's getting a check. Don't get me wrong. And working in the WWE is probably better than a lot of other jobs. But good Lord, have they done nothing with him. All it made me think is because it seemed like they brought him in when Shelton Benjamin got hurt and couldn't show up. I was like, if this is what they planned for Shelton Benjamin, I'm glad Shelton Benjamin didn't come back.
I think Shelton would have had a bigger role. He's too good, too athletic. But Kurt Hawkins is playing basically the Jinder Mahal role. For what Jinder Mahal is doing in Raw, he is essentially a step above a jobber. He's a guy who has experience, who has done things in the past, and is there to really put new people over. And so, from that standpoint, I'm pretty sure that Mojo Rawley is going to win this match.
Yes, he's going to win, but and apparently he's a really nice guy and he's super hyped. I've actually met him once, and he was a nice guy. Something about him, his face, his haircut. It's truly not an insult when I say this. Blah.
Yeah.
Very guy.
He just comes off as that, and I don't mean this mean because you're right. He seems like a super nice guy. He came off as really nice and genuine on Breaking Ground, but he is just that dumb, dopey, hyperactive football player that was in every single high school in the country. He's just so vanilla. His character is vanilla. I mean, they could try to do something where they make him more serious because he's a huge dude. I mean, the dude is big as far as, muscular. So don't get me wrong. I mean, he's every bit an athlete and everything. He's just so... I just want to go to sleep when he comes on. Yeah.
And the only reason I don't go to sleep is because he's generally yelling.
Yep. All right, so the next match we've got is Luke Harper taking on Randy Orton. If Randy is motivated, this could be one of the best matches of the night.
And I think Randy... let me just say this. The whole Randy is getting towards the end of his major run, and I'm not saying into his career because the dude's in impeccable shape, but towards his major run, and he's doing what he can. His purpose on SmackDown will be somewhat to get other people over. That being said, I think Luke's going to look really, really good tonight, and I think Randy will win.
Yeah, I mean, how the guy's going into WrestleMania with a title shot. How do you have him lose? at the pay-per-view before. It would, yeah. I think this is going to be this. I think the whole point of this match needs to be make Harper look amazing, and Randy Orton barely squeaks out a win.
Yeah,
and that's what it needs to be. So yeah, I agree. Randy's winning.
He's got to hit the RKO out of nowhere.
Yes, yeah, he does. Next up, we have Apollo Crews and Kalisto taking on Dolph Ziggler in a 2-on-1 handicap match. Like I mentioned earlier, I think Crews needs to turn on Kalisto.
I didn't even think of it, but I like your idea, so let's go with it.
Yeah, that needs to happen because Crews is boring. Kalisto is an amazing in-ring talent, but just has never really gotten his footing in WWE. And Ziggler needs someone to heel. Ziggler needs someone to be there with him as a partner or something. And they could theoretically enter the tag team turmoil match later in the night, which we'll get to. By the way, these I've heard. I'm going to give credit where credit is due. These were the whole Apollo Crews turning, not my original idea. I heard it on another podcast. I wish I could claim it as my own, but I heard it. I was like, that makes perfect sense. So we'll see what happens. Next up, possibly the match of the night, Becky Lynch taking on Mickie James.
Yeah, I look forward to this match. If you're a fan of real wrestling, women's wrestling, this should be a dream match. I mean, Mickie has very much stayed in shape. This is amazing for her. Just amazing. She's had a kid. She's, had tried to do a country thing. She's done a lot. And she has stayed in amazing shape. Becky's in amazing shape. She's one of the best wrestlers that they got in the company. It's just setting up for a great match. And it's like a lot of people, it can probably go under the radar how good this match should be. And I will actually, if it is not, good to great, I will be actually disappointed in them because I'm actually anticipating this match, and it's not even a title match.
Agreed. Yeah, this one will easily, I think, be the best women's division match of the night, but it could be the very best singles match of the night. Possibly the best match of the night. And I'm really looking forward to it. I think Mickie James is going to get the win. She really hasn't gotten a big win yet since she's been back. And if she gets the win, especially through devious means, it can further the feud.
Yeah, she feel like if you're trying to bring her in her point, you're not just trying to Dudley Boys her out of it, because you remember the Dudley Boys.
Yeah.
They brought them back, and everybody's like, oh, they're going to be the 10-time champion, and then, nothing. So if you're not just trying to Dudley Boys her out of here, she has to win tonight.
Agreed. Next, we've got Alexa Bliss defending the SmackDown Women's Championship against Naomi. I'm not sure on the. I'm sure that what I'm not sure on is how good the match is going to be. I think Naomi is ridiculously athletic, and Alexa Bliss is the best character worker of the division. I don't know if anyone can say either one of them are great wrestlers.
That is true.
So this is either going to, one of two things is going to happen with this. This is either going to be surprisingly not terrible or a freaking train wreck.
I'm going to go with surprisingly not terrible.
Me too, because I really want them both to look good. I think Alexa retains, though.
Yeah, it's what makes sense. I mean, they really need to push Naomi a little better before putting her on the title on her. I think it would be too quick.
Agreed. And maybe it can be some, cheaty win, and that can push this on to, I don't know if this would be the match at WrestleMania, but you could draw out the feud, and maybe this is when at WrestleMania you bust out SmackDown has a women's championship ladder match, and you get the whole division in there.
That would be cool. I would feature it on the pre-show, not as an insult, just as in on the pre-show, it would be the featured part of the pre-show.
Right, that would be the very last match on the pre-show before you go live. Because that would be, especially if it's really good, and it could be, that would be a good way of anyone that's, say, watching it on YouTube that might go, you know what, I think I am going to go ahead and get WrestleMania and get the network. Maybe. Probably not, but, you know.
Yeah, but Mania is a 5-hour show, so it would be a great way to start the show if you wanted to do something like that. It would be funny to see a women's ladder match just because Alexa is so freaking short. So it will be funny to... She would need like the giant ladder just to reach the regular belt because she's really short.
They would the belt would have to be lower. It couldn't be as high as it normally is.
So she's still short.
Yeah, she's... You know, the other thing they could do is you could have a women's Money in the Bank match, and you bring in people from both divisions, from both Raw and SmackDown, and then have the winner can get a shot at whichever women's championship they want.
That would be cool. That would be pretty cool. I feel like there would be an injury somewhere, but that would be cool.
Oh, I'm sure there's a ladder match. There's probably going to be an injury somewhere. And if they do this, they're going to have to get because I don't know how many of them have had experience in ladder matches. They're going to need to have every single person that's going to be involved in the Performance Center practicing ladder matches like crazy, because that's not something you go into blind at all. So that would be cool. Probably none of that will happen. So
yeah. It's fun to talk about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Next up, we've got the Tag Team Turmoil match for the WWE SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Now, do you, off the top of your head, remember what the rules of a Tag Team Turmoil match are? Because I don't.
It is an old school TNA gauntlet match. Or a gauntlet match. It's just one team starts, and whoever the last team is, it wins. So if you're the first team, you have to win several. You have to beat everybody at that point.
Okay, so
you win. So the Usos start against Heath Slater and Rhino. The Usos win. Then they fight whoever comes out next, and whoever's the last team wins.
Okay, that makes sense.
I was gonna say, I think it's all about the alphas will beat everybody.
Yeah, and the real problem with that is, where do you go then? I mean, I'm sure that it's going to start with American Alpha and somebody else, and American Alpha is going to beat everyone. But you are literally beating your entire division. So if the plan is, if the Revival doesn't show up, if Apollo Crews and Dolph Ziggler don't get involved, there is no one else for American Alpha to face. So if I would rather see them do something like, the Usos and Breezango start, and the Usos win, and then about halfway, then at the end, American Alpha come out and face the Usos and beat the Usos, but the Usos have just gone through every other team, and that sets up an Usos American Alpha feud going forward. That way, at least, you don't have your champions destroying the entire division.
Yeah, and like I said, if they come out last, then they technically only beat one team.
Exactly.
Yeah, so. I mean, it's one of those things. Their division, they have not done a good job of building that division. They have done nothing to get anybody over except American Alpha. And
they honestly haven't even done that good of a job with American Alpha.
So hopefully, if they can put on a good show, and I just feel like the only reason this match is on is because it'll waste a lot of time.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's sad. Next, we've got Nikki Bella taking on Natalya in a singles match. I think Nikki Bella's winning.
I think Natalya goes over tonight for some reason. But if they really are trying to go straight into if they really are going to do the John Cena and her versus The Miz and Maurice, then I guess then she would have to win this match.
Yes, exactly. So next up, we've got the Elimination Chamber match for the WWE, and I'm still going to call it World Championship. John Cena defending against AJ Styles, Dean Ambrose, The Miz, Baron Corbin, and Bray Wyatt. I think all safe money is saying that Bray Wyatt wins this match.
Safe money is Bray Wyatt wins. My personal preference would be AJ Styles getting the belt back. I would love to see John Cena and AJ Styles at WrestleMania. I mean, Randy Orton and AJ Styles at WrestleMania. That would be a dream match of mine. I mean, I could just pick what I've heard on the internet, but I'm going to go a little left, as in more of what I want.
Yeah, I agree with you. I want AJ Styles to win because I think AJ Styles versus Randy Orton, you could really build up as the main event, because they're going to build like 4 main events for WrestleMania, but this would be the wrestler main event. This is the wrestling fans, the guys who want to see an actual really good technical match. That is AJ Styles and Randy Orton, as long as Randy Orton comes motivated. If he's just, I'm going through the motions, Randy Orton, it'll still be good because AJ Styles will make it good, but that has the potential of being a, pun intended, phenomenal match. But I really think Bray Wyatt's going to win because storyline-wise, that one makes the most sense. If Bray wins, though, I want it to come down to him and Cena, and I want Bray to beat Cena. And you could even have something where Cena eliminates The Miz. It comes down to the last 3 are Bray, Miz, and Cena. And Cena somehow eliminates Miz, and before Miz leaves, he gives him a crotch chop or something dastardly, and then to kind of help Bray get the win, or at least help Bray get momentum. But Bray Wyatt needs to beat John Cena for this.
Yeah, I feel like the match works either way. That would be cool if he does beat John Cena. And I don't know if you watched Talking Smack. I actually did, and it was this point where John Cena says he's like, the only person I'm really worried about is AJ. I just feel like me and AJ are just on another level right now, and I just thought that was so cool that he said that, and that we're just on a different level from everybody else. I just thought that was kind of cool that he gave AJ the shot, because he's done. As much as I hate him most of the time, he's done more to get AJ over than pretty much anybody.
He really has. That a lot of people complained about his promo after he won the night after, or the couple nights after the Rumble. I loved how he put over AJ Styles in that. And yeah, I think I don't know. I compare those two in so many ways, and we talked about it before. But they are this generation's Flair and Hogan. They are the 2 biggest names in pro wrestling from different companies, and when they've come together, it's been magic. More so than when Flair and Hogan came together, because they never really had that good magical moments.
Your volume went out.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. So this is fascinating radio. Okay, so...
You were very well now.
Okay, you can.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So, sorry about that, folks. Technical difficulties here in podcasting land. Anyway, well, that's Elimination Chamber. Like I mentioned earlier, we will do a full review tomorrow and have that up on our YouTube channel. So make sure to head over to youtube.com/AroundTheRingOK and hit subscribe so you get notified when we have that up and on there. Want to do 205 Live next?
Yes, I am ready.
Okay.
Actually, I think we were both going to bring this up. The whole Daivari Ali gimmick their gimmicks is what I want to talk about. The match was good, but what I want to talk about is their gimmicks. Because you got two Eastern Asian characters. Or is that how it is? Is Eastern Asian?
Middle Eastern?
Middle Eastern Asian characters. I just wanted to say it like that because I don't know if they're both Indian, but generally they would both play an Indian character with the rap, and they would do the camel clutch, and it's just so generic, you know. And the fact is, with these two people, they're kind of both playing against type, and it's what I'm hoping that the WWE becomes in the future. Ali, his whole gimmick is you hear my name and you automatically think a certain thing, and I'm here to show you that I'm completely different. I dig that. And Daivari he's just fighting for his family name. You know, it's nothing about his culture or anything. He's fighting for his family name, the name of Daivari, his brother's name, who was in the WWE. I hope they do bring in Sean Daivari as a manager for him. I think that would be so cool. But especially in the Cruiserweight division, it would add a little bit to the Cruiserweight division. But I thought the match was really cool, and I like where they're taking these type of characters, hopefully in the future.
Yeah. So I decided to look it up. Arya Daivari is from Minnesota, so he is born and raised here in the States.
Yeah.
He is billed as being from Iran, so I think he's Iranian of descent. Oh yeah, and his brother Sean Daivari, I remember the first time I ever really saw him was on Lucha Underground, and he sucked. And then he got kicked out of both TNA and Lucha. No, wait, that was a different dude. Never mind. I get my that was the same time frame, but a different guy. He would be a cool one to bring in as a manager. I like that idea. But yeah, they are billed as being Iranian. So let's look at Mustafa Ali. And seriously, we don't have he's Pakistani American.
Okay.
So he was born in Illinois. Boy, these guys are both super American. But he is Pakistani in descent. So they are both Arab descent. So yeah, they could be saddled with camel clutch land and doing the whole Iron Sheik crap. But yeah, I love that their gimmicks. I wish Daivari wouldn't wear that head thing, but it's not. I mean, that's the only thing about it that comes in from his nationality, so to speak. But then that's a fine line. He's like defending his family's name, so why not wear something that's traditional to his family? You can get real. PC can get way too you can get too deep into the PC nature of that when you're going into this. But you're right. I like that both of these guys, especially Mustafa Ali, are really going against the standard typical characters for Arab wrestlers. And I got to give credit where credit is due. Have we ever had a time in the history of WWE where we have had this many wrestlers that are either Asian or Arab descent, or from India, from any of that part of the world? Because you think we've got Jinder Mahal, who's Indian. We've got Daivari and Ali, who are Arab. We have a number of Japanese wrestlers. And I just forgot them all. Tajiri, Tozawa, Nakamura, Itami. So yeah, I mean, whoever's hiring, Triple H is doing a great job actually getting talent from around the world. And there's that dude, that Chinese dude. There's that Hawaiian guy in NXT who's like Sasquatch. Whew, that guy's tall.
Yeah, they got like 5. They showed a clip where they have 5 Chinese people going to the WWE training center now. So it is really trying to be a multicultural experience, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I agree. And I actually thought this was a pretty good match. And I think Ali does a really good job getting the crowd involved. And This was a crowd that it would get quiet at times. There were times, especially during that, maybe it was the next match, which I didn't even write down. There were times when the crowd was dead silent. But Ali and then everyone in the Fatal 5-Way did a really good job of getting people involved. Speaking of that, the main event, Jack Gallagher versus Noam Dar versus Cedric Alexander versus Mustafa Ali versus TJ Perkins. Fatal 5-Way elimination match, which poor Mauro Ranallo kept getting gimmicks confused and match rules confused, and Austin Aries just kept rubbing it in. It was so hilarious.
Well, you know why? It's because they mix terms. A Fatal 5-Way or a Fatal 4-Way should be first person win, right? When it's if it's an elimination match, it should be called a 5-man elimination match, not a Fatal 5-Way. That is the difference between those matches as far as Wrestling Geek people. That is the difference between those matches. So I could see why he kept getting confused, because when it's fatal, the fatal word has always been used in terms of one fall wins the match.
Yeah, good point. Excellent point. So I would get confused. I mean, I can't, for as much as we love to armchair quarterback these things and, backseat drive and Monday morning quarterback, whatever those, trite little sayings are, their jobs cannot be easy. Having to retain all this crap in their head with God knows who yelling God knows what in your ear while you're in the middle of talking, that's not easy. I mean, it's not back-breaking hard labor, but it's also, it takes a person with a certain amount of skill to do that, and I don't know how well I would do at it, so...
And thousands and millions, sometimes millions of people watching at home, and I'll say thousands of wrestling geeks like us, or now I wouldn't call us that, because I don't think we get on the Twitters and the Instagrams and all this stuff and basically destroy them every time they mess up a word. Like if you're not 100% perfect, someone is like, oh my God, he doesn't know that this move is not this move, or he said Michigan instead of Minnesota. And I'm just like, you say a tremendous amount of words in an hour, 2 hour, even a 3 hour show, that some mess ups are acceptable. I used to get on the Michael Cole because every week he would call a different move the Blue Thunder Bomb, but that was just something that annoyed me. I'm like, you got to know the move. Yeah. I grew up with Gordon Soley and Jim Ross and Mike Tenay, and they knew the move names. And even if they didn't know it, they would say, this is a unique maneuver. That was always the way to say it when they didn't know what something was called. So I grew up with that. So when people mess up move names, it does bother me. Yeah. That's my peeve. And
I will say I did actually Wrestling Geek out once in the way of being someone who got real nitpicky. There was Michael Cole has this tendency of calling a Hurricane Rana a head scissor takeover, and so I sent him a tweet once saying, please learn the difference between a Hurricane Rana and a head scissor takeover, to which he immediately blocked me.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. He messes up. Michael Cole's not my favorite person in the world. So when I say he messes up, I mean, he messes up quite a bit. It's just that those type of things, that I'm just saying that is an added line of difficulty in that job, is that you have a bunch of wrestling geeks sitting at home with their computers and their notepads waiting on you to mess up.
Exactly.
And, just that nervousness. I had it yesterday when I was at work, and there was a bunch of people remoted into my system watching me work. And I was really nervous. I just couldn't do anything because I felt like somebody was staring over my shoulder. That's pretty much their job every week.
Oh God, that would suck. I remember, I think I had that happen once when I was at Convergys. They, like a classroom, listened to me take calls for a while, and remoted in and watched my screen and everything. Apparently I didn't do anything real stupid or say anything like get into like team chats and say anything real bad, because I didn't get fired. So, man, well, Yeah, that's cool. So you had was it a group in training listening to you?
No, we were onboarding a new group that we were doing IT support for, and they were like, Floyd, how do you do this? And I was taking them through it, and it's just like I knew what I was doing. I 100% knew what I was doing, but it made me so nervous that I kept freezing up, and it was just, I don't really like people watching over me. Like, talking about wrestling is really second nature to me. It is like breathing. Wrestling has been a part of my life as long as I have known that life existed. So, talking about wrestling, I could have thousands of people listening to me, and I could talk about wrestling all day. You want to come stand and we talk about wrestling, but when you're on a computer and you're on with a bunch of really smart people watching everything you do, so they really do know when you mess up. And so it's really, really nervous, because unfortunately, as much as I love my job, and I think I'm pretty good at it, I'm not as confident as I am when I do this.
Makes sense. So what did you think of this match overall?
The 5-way, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. 5-way match was really good. Me and you have both talked about how Gallagher is the top face on 205 Live, so I pretty much saw the end coming. But the whole gimmick where he flew off the ropes with the umbrella, dead.
That was so great.
Dead. Yeah, that was hilarious.
And I love the Mary Poppins chants that happened. And another thing I liked is when it came down to Gallagher and TJ Perkins, TJP was working like a heel. I thought that was a nice little twist. And I love, you're right, Gallagher is the one person in this division, and besides I think Neville at this point, who is really, really, really connecting with people on like a major level, because he's so damn entertaining. My only fear is you've now got your two kind of hottest people in the division, so it kind of makes sense to put them in a program together, except then you're like, well, what do you do afterwards? And
yeah, well, afterwards is the rumor we've heard, Austin Aries. So that is the rumor online that Austin Aries, they're setting up for Austin Aries and Neville at WrestleMania, which the whole Austin Aries interviewing gimmick, I guess, is supposed to turn into Neville pretty much insulting him or making fun of him more, and that saying he can't wrestle anymore.
Okay, that would be good. So I think at Fastlane, Neville retains, but it's got to be a match where Gallagher looks really good, which I think it will.
Because you're building the division, that's the goal. That's why I didn't like him beating TJP and then Rich Swann fairly quickly. I actually didn't like that, because it was just like, your goal is to build a division. Everybody on your division. That was the big thing about WCW, is like they don't give many compliments. But the big thing with them is that any cruiserweight can win on any night.
God, those matches were so good.
Yeah, and it's like right now you're getting into the WWE type of hierarchy where it's Neville and this person, then everybody else, and this person, then everybody else. And I just think the reason the CWC worked is because Ronaldo and Brian did such a good job of making it seem like anybody could win any night.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely agreed.
And they wrestled in a way where anybody could win. There was 0 squash matches in that tournament. And it's just like, we've had squash matches where it was basically Neville beating up the guy. And I just think that should be where the cruiserweight division is different, is that there should be no squash matches. Every match should be like 10 to 15 minutes, kind of back and forth, and then one guy wins.
Yeah, I can see, I think with just establishing Neville as being dominant, with him coming in, being a new presence, and with his new attitude, I think him having a couple of quick wins doesn't kill the division, because he surprised people, and it's just this reminder, oh yeah, this guy is actually one of the best in the world.
Yeah, really.
And so I think that did a great job, and now whoever does eventually beat him, that will make it a big deal. So yeah, I think him and Aries at WrestleMania. Sign me up. Take my money.
Yeah, I am. I'm looking. I would definitely look forward to that match. I mean, like I said, I've heard the rumors that Vince wants the top Wrestle Kingdom, and I'm all for it. I mean, do it. Do it with me in the building. Do it so I can have that I was there shirt, and I would seriously frame that I was there shirt, just so everyone knows that I was at one of the best wrestling shows ever.
So I mean, if you're gonna. So yeah, I mean, and this will be a topic for a later discussion, and we'll have to, as we get closer to WrestleMania, especially once we kind of get an idea of what these matches are going to be, to look at the likelihood of it being a better show than Wrestle Kingdom, because that is a lofty goal. Now, if your goal is to beat Wrestle Kingdom, but it's almost like remember when working in call centers, you would always say, okay, your call time is, let's say 6 minutes. But often we'd have coaches that would tell us, okay, if your call time's 6 minutes, you need to really shoot for 5 minutes so you actually hit 6 minutes. So if they're doing this from a point of view of, okay, our goal is to beat Wrestle Kingdom, but the reality is the real goal is to have one of the best WrestleManias ever, then I could see that as being attainable. I'm not sure you're going to, because with all the rumored matches, I don't see anything that is going to come to, Okada Omega level. But
I agree, and I don't think they can put on as good a wrestling show because it was about wrestling. That show was about wrestling. There was not a lot of outside interference. I don't even think there was any run-ins. It was about telling stories with your body. WWE doesn't do that well, honestly, because they restrict their wrestlers so much on a night basis on what they can and can't do. So a lot of matches can start looking the same because you can't do a lot of the things that you can do in a Wrestle Kingdom match. But I think they can put on a great show. I mean, the thing is, with WWE, they're all about the storylines. They're all about presentations. So just make me care. The best WrestleMania I've been at out of my 5 was 30. And it was because of the continuing storyline of Daniel Bryan's triumph. And it ended with him finally winning the title. And that was an amazing thought process. If this WrestleMania ends with Goldberg and Lesnar, I will be leaving WrestleMania early.
Yeah, 30 was excellent. I think 30, the whole card was... I just remember the entire show being really entertaining. From everything from that Hogan, Rock, Stone Cold opening, which was so freaking good. The opening match with Bryan and Triple H. The main event, which I loved. Daniel Bryan getting the win. The whole thing I was just... really, really enjoyed. Well, let's go ahead and move on now. I did not get a chance to watch NXT this week, but you did, so let's give us your thoughts on NXT.
Okay. All right. They started off with, because honestly it's so short you can kind of go match by match. Started off with Sanity cutting a promo, and Eric Young has not let go of the fact Ty Dillinger is going to join his group or else. They had it was Big Damo, or Killian Dane, as his WWE name is. That'll probably be the last time I use Big Damo, because I really didn't even know him as Big Damo, because I'd never seen him wrestle before. So Killian Dane and Alexander Wolf, they wrestled 2 jobbers. And they wrestled the Bollywood Boys from Cruiserweight fame. And pretty much Dane wrestled the whole match by himself and then pinned him.
Okay.
So it was really big on getting Dane over as the monster. That's when he cuts the promo. Then Ty Dillinger's in the back and he says, "I'm never joining Sanity," and they jump him, and then it ends up in the ring with Ty Dillinger fighting the 3 members of Sanity. And then out of nowhere, Roderick Strong and No Way Jose come out for the save. So I came up with Roderick Strong's officially a face. I was like, I don't really like it because I don't think that's the best thing for his character, especially with being a smallish guy. But I guess they do need some faces on the roster if they're going to have anybody up against Bobby Roode. Liv Morgan. I don't know what you think about her, but I think she's really pretty. I don't get her character at all.
She's from New Jersey. That's like her.
I don't get that as a character. It's like I don't get it. They put her in a match with Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. I honestly get them confused now because they're so much alike. But I know Peyton Royce is the chick with the roses, and then Billie Kay. So they had her go over one of them with O'Connor role, and I didn't really understand that. But of course, she went over. So next week it's going to be Billie Kay and Peyton Royce against Liv and a partner of her choosing. Which, I mean, it'll probably be Asuka, but I'd rather it be, they've really gotten over the fact that her and Aaliyah are really tight. And it was funny because even though they said, ha ha ha, they kind of laughed and said she doesn't have friends, even though they put over on NXT how close Liv and Aaliyah are. So, very confused by that. I was very confused by that whole she doesn't have any friends when it's been established that she does.
Yeah, because she's tagged with Aaliyah, she's tagged with Ember Moon, she's been shown hanging out with both Aaliyah and Ember Moon, so that makes no sense. Other than just Peyton Royce and Billie Kay play the bitchy girls from high school.
Yeah.
So they're the plastics from Mean Girls. That's what they are. They're your Mean Girls.
So the Revival's up next, and they have a tag match against this team called Heavy Machinery. It's Tucker Knight, and I forgot the other dude's name, but he's really short and like really thick. And so they're this heavy team. It's pretty much like they look like a offshoot of Authors of Pain, and the ring psychology in that match about how they took down bigger guys and they double teamed them and all that kind of stuff. It really worked. I mean, and they did this thing where they had Tucker Knight kind of chasing Wilder around the ring, and then he gets in under the ropes, and Scott Dawson catches him with a DDT, and it was just the ring psychology on that match was really cool. And then even at the end, they both Dawson steps on him to go over to raise up his hands, and then Wilder does the same thing, and it was just like, if you're a person that watches for the details like I am, it was just really, really well told story. I mean, just the psychology was off the chain. It was, these dudes are cocky, they know they're the best in the world, and it was like they really didn't wrestle heel. They just kind of wrestled. So they just kind of did tag team wrestling. And they cut a promo. Basically, I guess they get Authors of Pain at TakeOver.
Oh, nice.
They said, Authors of Pain at TakeOver, you're going to be a footnote in the Revival's tag team history. And then Authors of Pain came out. And Authors of Pain came out. And the Revival, of course, they did the Revival thing, the heelish thing. They walked away like nothing was there was no issue. The Authors of Pain come stand out in the middle of the ring. They don't even say anything. They start heading to the back, and guess what happens? The Revival jump them, and then they make off before either one of them could recover. So, and then Paul Ellering's like holding them back before they destroy people. So it was just it was about getting the Revival over, and it's just, they are so good on the mic. That's why I told you, I know you didn't watch it. Watch it, because you will actually enjoy it, because we're both huge fans of the Revival. I would love for them to win at TakeOver, but my thing is I'm ready for them to come to the main roster. I just think they add so much to any tag team division they're in, whether it be Raw or SmackDown. I think they're made for SmackDown just because they would get time on SmackDown, and Raw, for some reason, they have 3 hours, but they don't seem to get everybody on the show.
Yeah, they need to be on SmackDown. It would be a much better fit. Wow, I will definitely check out NXT. When Bobby Roode did some stuff too, right?
He did his Rouge promo. Was awesome. It was just I told you so to the max. It was a bunch of this is all the people that Nakamura beat. Nakamura said he was going to kick my head off. He said my head's still on. That was the funny part of that. And and he's like, well, then he said this other thing that was funny. He's like, we walk around and you're yelling, "We are NXT." Basically, he said, "I am NXT now."
Nice.
So, and that was cool. And then the main event was a 6-man tag. Roderick Strong, Ty Dillinger, and No Way Jose against Sanity. And I will say this was about getting Killian Dane over because he pretty much dominated the match. Hit Roderick Strong with like a flying, like across the body. It was kind of how Bray Wyatt does when he just kind of throws his body at you.
Yeah.
And then Eric Young picked up the win, and that's how they ended with Sanity. Sanity standing in the ring and standing tall. Overall, I thought it was one of the better regular NXT episodes in a long time.
Sounds like it was really good. I'm definitely going to go back and watch it.
I actually enjoyed it. It was one of the better regular NXT episodes. Like, not a go home show or anything like that. It was just a really solid episode, actually. Like I said, I usually will watch NXT while I'm doing something else, and I actually paid attention and watched the whole show.
Nice. All right. Well, did you have a chance to watch TNA this week?
TNA starts, the whole TNA watching starts next week.
Okay.
My shift at schedule, my work shifts, and I will be watching it every Friday from now on, and you will get a TNA report every week because, except if I'm leaving out of town, but I will be sure to let you know in advance. I do know TNA had one of its lowest rated episodes since moving to Pop TV this week, and a lot of people feel like it's having a problem finding their footing. My thing is, they shoot their episodes so far in advance. I already knew what was happening on Thursday night. And like right now, they've already shot an episode, and I'm not trying to spoil it for anybody, but Bobby Lashley's not even a champion right now. He's the champion as far as the TV universe is concerned, but since they recorded it like a month ago, I already know he lost his belt. So, in the internet age, you can't have that long. You can't.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that with Anthem, and they've brought back Jeff Jarrett's come back in to help run things, and Dutch Mantel, and some other dude. And apparently they were, my understanding is some of TNA's best times, those were the guys running it. So maybe they'll be able to straighten things out. And I also did hear a report that TNA has signed a deal with Pro Wrestling Noah to work together. Yeah, they actually advertised that. It's on their website that that was the case. And that's awesome. That would be, I think Noah will probably end up taking more advantage of it. They'll probably get a little more out of it than TNA, but that's great because that the partnership with Ring of Honor has with New Japan Pro Wrestling has been fantastic. So if TNA can do something like that with Noah and help Noah grow, because I know Noah is in a weird spot in Japan right now. So I think that's a really cool thing. I'm hopeful for TNA. So I just hope it gets better and give them a chance. And I know they're moving away, which I know you hate, but they're moving away from the actual TNA initials. I think it's just called Impact now, which I am all for. I hope at some point they officially just say we have a full-blown change to the name. We are now, come up with some 3-letter, I don't know what. Impact Pro Wrestling.
Impact Wrestling. AIW.
AIW, yeah. Anthem Impact Wrestling. AIW. There you go. I like it. It's the AIW champion. I think that would be good. I did watch Ring of Honor this week, and I forget where it was from. We had Kevin Kelly with Colt Cabana on commentary. There was a match. B.J. Whitmer and Punishment Damian Martinez took on War Machine. This was a double count-out, it basically setting up for a continuing feud. And in fact, the show went off the air with these four guys beating the crap out of each other backstage. The Kingdom had a match against three basically scrubs. I really didn't pay attention to this because as much as I really like Matt Taven, the two other dudes in the Kingdom are just as generic can be. It did afterwards. Dalton Castle came out with the boys and laid down a challenge to the Kingdom. But before Dalton could get in the ring, Colt Cabana attacked the boys and prevented anything from happening. He then got chased. He ran off. And then right before the next match, which was the Tempura Boys taking on the Young Bucks for the tag titles, he tried to come back out, but was told, no, you can't be here, by Kevin Kelly, and he was all being heely and dickish. This was a very good match. The Tempura Boys are from New Japan, a couple of younger Japanese wrestlers. Young Bucks got the win, but it was very competitive, very good match, lots of fun. And the main event was a six-man scramble for the number one contender for the TV title. It was Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, Leo Rush, Jay White, Donovan Dijak, and Jonathan Gresham. Marty Scurll came out on commentary. He was great. That guy is a star, man. And Ring of Honor is lucky to have him right now, because I know their Ring of Honor is going through some rough times right now.
Really?
Yeah, they've lost. Kevin Kelly is no longer a full-time employee. He is doing the English commentary for all of Japan's shows, which are a lot. There's like over 12 of them that he's going to be working on. So he's still part-time working with Ring of Honor when he can. So occasionally he'll be on a pay-per-view. Occasionally he'll be on TV. They've lost Steve Corino. They've lost Nigel McGuinness. They've lost Kyle O'Reilly. They've lost Donovan Dijak, who actually won this match and is going to be challenging Marty Scurll.
Where is Dijak going?
He is going to Evolve. So basically, he's about to head to NXT, I'm sure. Taylor Hendricks is apparently signed with NXT. Adam Cole is 1 foot out the door. If he's not in NXT or WWE by the end of the year, I will be shocked. So they are losing people hand over fist, and they actually, to give credit where credit is due, the folks at Voices of Wrestling this week had a really good discussion about the state of Ring of Honor, and they went through the Ring of Honor, what's the word I'm looking for? Thank you. Man, you talked about earlier how words just weren't working when you were at work the other day and people were watching you. That's me right now. It's not happening. But they went through the roster, and they basically did this word association where one of them was like, said the name of the guy on the roster, and the other one said basically the first thing that popped into his mind. And it boiled down to the vast majority of their roster was classified as strong, older strong hand veteran, or veteran strong hand. Basically, older guys who are great workers. And I hadn't thought of it like that, but Ring of Honor really has been kind of poached in the last few years, bad, and they haven't built up a whole lot of new people. The signing of Marty Scurll was excellent, and I'm pretty sure they also signed Will Ospreay, but both of those guys are not going to be there for very long, I suspect. Dijak was one that had a lot of potential, but he's heading on to other pastures. Vince wants to get his hands on Donovan Dijak. Who else they've got? I mean, they've got some really good folks, but I almost get the feeling like right now Ring of Honor is the place where you kind of older wrestlers come to finish out their careers. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because it's one of my favorite promotions. I enjoy watching Ring of Honor a lot. But they also were talking about the Hardys and the situation with the Hardys where they have not yet re-signed with TNA. And they were talking about how they think TNA should not re-sign the Hardys because it's not a good return on their investment. if TNA was doing house shows, since the Hardys are a proven draw on the road, then it would be great to have the Hardys. But if they're not doing house shows and their ratings aren't really being positively impacted, pun intended, by the Hardys, then why spend so much freaking money on them? But Ring of Honor could do really well with the Hardys because they tour, and the more I thought about it, I was like, really, that's probably the perfect place for the Hardys to be right now is Ring of Honor. They would have complete creative freedom. They would be able to tour all over the place, and I'm sure they would be able to cut a deal with Ring of Honor that would let them work other indies, and it would be a win-win for everybody. And Ring of Honor could cut them a big enough check that would make them happy, I'm sure. Plus, those two guys are independently wealthy, and it's not like they need WWE money. So, if you were TNA, would you re-sign the Hardy Boys?
I absolutely would, because they're the biggest names in my company.
Yeah. Do you think?
They're it. What is TNA? The Hardys. Bobby Lashley is not a draw.
No.
He's a big dude, but no one is paying to see Bobby Lashley wrestle. And it's like, I thought the biggest problem with TNA is that they've put so much faith and money into someone that has no personality.
He really does. He hasn't. He should be, because he looks like $1 million, but yeah. He's so boring.
So boring.
So if you were Jeff Jarrett and you've been handed the reins of TNA, what is your first move?
My first move is try to find the biggest name. I mean, Cody Rhodes would probably be my champion fairly quickly. And I would try to, I would throw as much money as freaking possible at CM Punk.
Yeah. I don't think CM Punk would go to TNA. He hates them, though.
He hates them, and he hates them. But, maybe I would throw a lot of money at him. I'm just saying, it's only a TV product right now. You have to do no road shows. You just shoot TV, 4 matches a month, and then you go home. You throw a bunch. I don't remember how long AJ Lee has to be out, but I would just throw money at the biggest names I can think of. And it's like, I know Wade Barrett is kind of, on his acting thing right now, but I would try to bring every name that I could in. Punk would be my biggest, because he can actually use his name. He can be CM Punk.
True. Yeah, because you bring in Wade Barrett, he has to be Stu Bennett.
Yes, and it's like, it's a draw. It's a name draw. It is immediate ratings. CM Punk is wrestling again. I would give him a chunk of the show, chunk of the pay-per-view. He would have the Hulk Hogan contract for TNA. I mean, that's what I would do. I mean, if you're asking what I would do, I would do whatever I can to get CM Punk as the face of my promotion. And it would be CM Punk as my face, and I would get and Cody Rhodes as my heel.
So the problem with doing that, I think, is you then are the perception of these are former WWE guys.
See, CM Punk is independently his own person. And
true.
And because he's only wrestling once a month, doing that one day or whatever, how many days of taping, he can still do his MMA career.
Yeah, true. But he will still be especially from a casual point, it is still TNA again bringing in WWE guys to try to save the day.
And you bring in the WWE guys, and then you start building your new characters.
Yeah, see, I could see that. The problem, Cody Rhodes, I know, is actually signed now with New Japan and with Ring of Honor.
And he still can wrestle TNA. He actually is signed with all 3 places.
That's insane. That's great. Good for him, man, for getting that through. That's fantastic.
I would do everything I can to get Moose. I love Moose as my guy, too. But I would get him either TV spots or whatever I can to get his face out there, because he's a big dude, big dude. He looks WWE ready. They unfortunately passed on him. He can wrestle. He can work. I would use him, and I would build my company around him. Moose would be my homegrown guy, but I would bring CM Punk in if it was even possible. But basically, I would bend over and let CM Punk take me.
Yeah. Moose is. I think pushing Moose to the moon is a great idea. I know the whole situation with WWE. He was pretty much signed, or just about to be, and then the whole thing with Adam Rose, and then the whole thing with Jerry Lawler with the spousal abuse, scandals hit. And there was some domestic violence years ago. Yes, years ago. But at that, true. But at that exact moment, they were like, "Whoa, we can't afford this right now."
And I wouldn't be surprised if they said, "Hey, we want to wait to bring you in." He's like, "I got to eat every day. I can't just not work."
Oh yeah. But at least now that they've hired TNA folks, the TNA stigma isn't there anymore. So Moose will eventually be in WWE. Of that, I have no doubts.
Yeah, but as far as Moose's he's probably the biggest cross-platform guy you got, especially with his song and his Moose gimmick. It's very catchy. It's very audience-driven. I would just use him to he would be my star that I build up. If I was to get Punk in, get Cody Rhodes in, have them with this epic feud, and then all this time underground, I'm using Drew Galloway and Moose, and really building, and I would really focus on the X Division again, and I would go and find people that the WWE has not got. Leo Rush would be a big name. I know he's in ROH now, but you're gonna have to throw some money on it. You're gonna have to spend money to make money. I mean,
True.
But if you said, "Hey, I am Anthem. I'm not Jeff Jarrett. I am Anthem." My first move is to throw the money at Paul Heyman and say, "Build me a company."
Yeah, that would.
Because he is the best at building new wrestlers. That's what ECW was built on. He took Jimmy Snuka and some names that you knew, and then he built a company of new wrestlers. I would definitely smooth out my problems if they still have them. I don't even know. This is just rumored issues that I had with Taz, and because he has his own radio show platform, use that to try to get my show not necessarily over, but get him mentioning my show a little bit more on his show, and
yeah,
whatever I can.
One advantage of Anthem taking over TNA is the fact that it is in so many ways a clean slate.
Yeah.
So those are good ideas. I like those. Well, it is time. It is time for the Ring of Honor / Floyd Johnson Hall of Fame. And
all right. I got my list. I got my fun facts about this member of the Hall of Fame. After my research, and I actually spent some time this week looking into him because I didn't know a lot about him, because his career wasn't necessarily, it was basically over before I was even born. So the member that we're putting in today is the longest cumulative WWF champion of all time. He is the person that probably should have been the first member of the WWF Hall of Fame, but his problems with the WWF at that time kept this from happening. His name is Bruno Sammartino. Now, for people from the East Coast, oh my God. I mean, Hulk Hogan, as far as Hulk Hogan in this New York Northeast area, Hulk Hogan, even in his fame, would have been nothing compared to Bruno Sammartino. He was his first title reign was 7 years, 8 months, and 1 day. Wow. The reason he lost the title, he was tired of the travel of wrestling. Vince McMahon Sr. he was still selling out Madison Square Garden every night. Every night he was still selling out Madison Square Garden. You talk about if someone has the belt more than 6 months, nowadays people are wondering when are they going to lose the belt. He had the belt for almost 8 years and only had to give it up because he didn't want it anymore. Vince McMahon Sr. then came to him because no one could draw like he did, and a little while later talked him, and they went through a negotiation to put the title back on him. And you're going to start hearing a lot of terms that you're hearing these days. He got an abbreviated schedule where he only had to work the big arena shows. He got a percentage of the gate. And just because he made that much money, he was that big of a draw. His second reign was 3 years, 4 months, and 20 days. He was a cumulative champion for over 11 years. 11 years and 21 days as the WWF World Champion.
Wow. Yeah, you can't really argue. Cannot really argue with that at all.
11 years. You can combine every Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair reign together, and it was not that long.
Yeah, because Hogan, he had the longest reign, the almost 8-year reign, and then isn't Hogan second with his 4-year reign?
Yeah, his 4-year reign in the 80s. Yeah. They talk about John Cena has been the top guy for longer than anyone ever. No, he has not. He was not the top guy as long as Bruno Sammartino. Now, I always say John Cena is the new Hulk Hogan. Now, after doing my research, I truly believe John Cena is the new Bruno Sammartino. Youngest of 7 kids, born in Italy. Before Bruno moved to America, 4 of his older siblings died in Italy. His family had to hide from the Nazis at the end of World War II. This is, like I said, this is a little bitter. So he was definitely an immigrant to Pittsburgh. And the only reason he was 5'10", the only reason he got big enough is because all those years running around there, he got so sick from hiding and all that stuff that when he got here, he was really skinny and scrawny, and he got bullied. So he picked up weightlifting to toughen up. He got so good at weightlifting that he almost made the Olympic team as a heavyweight. He was 5'10", 280 pounds.
Wow.
I am 6 foot, 300 pounds. I am a big dude. That dude was 2 inches shorter than me and almost weighed as much as I did, and he was solid muscle. Kind of in the realm of, you've heard he was doing strongman stunts, kind of like what Mark Henry does, and he got discovered to wrestle by a guy named Rudy Miller. He actually wasn't over. He was not over at first. He kind of fledged along in wrestling, and he was with McMahon, and he was never above a mid-carder, and he went to Canada, and he was Italian, and he got over in Canada. He became a world champion there. He got over in Canada, and Vince McMahon, of course, saw money, brought him back, and Nature Boy Buddy Rogers was his champion, and he wasn't selling gates. The numbers were low, so he's like, you're Italian, we're going to bill you from New York, or we're going to bill you from Pittsburgh, but you're in this 3-state area, we're going to just, put it on him. So, in a very Kevin Nash versus Bob Backlund type thing, he wins his first WWF title from the Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, and he beats him in 48 seconds. That was back when that wasn't done. Squash matches like that for the title weren't done. And
so was he the second WWF champion? Because
yes.
Buddy Rogers was the one. There was a dispute with the NWA, and so Vincent that was when Vincent Sr. was like, okay, fine, I'm pulling out of the NWA, and my territory is my own thing now, and I'm crowning my own world champion. And that was Buddy Rogers, if I remember the history correctly.
So yes, San Martino was the second WWF champion. And like I said, I gave the stats on how long. But if you want to say, if you want to get to, you say spoiler alert, Cena wins, it was spoiler alert, San Martino wins for 8 years. For the better part of 8 years. When he just got tired and he said, you got to take this off me, he lost to Ivan Koloff, where they had to bring in extra security, and the referee never even gave Ivan Koloff the belt in the ring because they were afraid of the massive riot that would happen.
Oh man, and that happened at Madison Square Garden, I'm assuming.
And of course, that happened at Madison Square Garden. And not only was, he's a big dude, apparently, and I can't say I've seen any of his matches. He was a solid in-ring performer. He was in the match of the year in 1972, 75, 76, 77, Wrestler of the Year of 74. He's in 4 different Pro Wrestling Hall of Fames. And he had trained and was completely responsible for his only peer, the only person he trained, Larry Zbyszko, who is also now a Hall of Famer. He trained one guy, and that one guy ended up being a Hall of Famer too.
Yes, yeah, he did. That is true. So, what are the Hall of Fames he's a member of?
All right, so he's a part of the WWF Hall of Fame, the WCW Hall of Fame. I forgot what I had it listed here, and I somehow got deleted. It was 2 other Pro Wrestling Hall of Fames that are like or Madison Square Garden Hall of Fame, and I forgot what the other Hall of Fame was.
Was it is it the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame?
Yes, Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame. So, and he, as far as singles wrestlers, he was rated as 200 on PWI's list of singles wrestlers all the time. And you got to think about it, PWI is probably more of a modern wrestler. There was a lot less wrestlers when he was around and holding the belt for as long as he did wasn't that big a deal. So he was the biggest draw for a long period of time. And pretty much the money he made lined the McMahon's pockets and pretty much made the WWF possible to this day.
Wow.
So I know some people may have read his book and know all those facts, but that's just some fascinating stuff about my next member of the Hall of Fame. Now, when I say the elite of the elite are going to be in my Hall of Fame, I don't think anyone will ever beat his credentials as far as being in the Hall of Fame.
You really can't. I mean, he was something special.
Yeah, I think he sold out Madison Square Garden. I'm not even going to say the number, but for that 8 years, every show he was a part of sold out.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, so when Vince Sr. comes and says, hey, I'm going to give you money and more money, no matter how much money San Martino took, Vince was still making money because he would sell out no matter what the rest of the card was. His career lasted for 30 years because his last match was in 1988 when he tagged out with Hulk Hogan on a WWF match. And it was said that even in his 50s, the other wrestlers, he was in better shape than them, and they would get blown up in the matches before he did at 50 years old.
Wow. And apparently I'm looking at his Wikipedia page right now. That final match was him with Hulk Hogan defeating King Kong Bundy and One Man Gang.
Yes, 2 of the largest men of the time, and it's just his son never got over David San Martino, but honestly, when you get to that point, when you're that great, there is generally your kids aren't going to be that good.
Yeah.
It's just they're not going to be able to live up to it. I mean, I could imagine being Hulk Hogan's son Nick or Ric Flair's son Dave, and you're gonna have a really, really hard time living up to it. But think about it. There were people at some point in time growing up where the only person they knew as the world champion was Bruno Sammartino. Bruno Sammartino had been their champion their whole life.
Wow. That is, that's crazy. Go Bruno. Good choice. Very good choice.
So I have never met the man. He does not do a lot of appearances to this day. I would definitely consider it an honor now, because I realize what he meant to professional wrestling in general.
That would be very cool. Yeah. Very nice.
But
Well,
that is the member of this week.
all right. There we go. Bruno Sammartino heading into the Floyd Johnson Around the Ring Hall of Fame. That's right. And that is, he's number 3, right?
Yep, Flair, Hogan, and Bruno Sammartino.
Can't go wrong with those. So that takes us to our final item this week, the top 5, which is our top 5 modern enforcers, or top 5 enforcers that are not Arn Anderson.
Yes.
Let me rephrase that. I'm going to say that this list was kind of hard for me to think of, and so here's kind of my criteria when I thought of this. I thought of Arn Anderson's role in the Four Horsemen, where he was the heavy of the group, but he was also kind of the unofficial leader of the group. Because as soon as Arn Anderson left the NWA or WCW, the Four Horsemen stopped. There was no Horseman without Arn Anderson.
He was the general.
Right. So that's kind of what I had in mind when I put together my list. So did you have any honorable mentions?
I had 3 honorable mentions, which is a lot for me. And I will explain that the enforcer role, as far as wrestling, is always the role has always been my favorite role. Thanks to Arn Anderson, it's also been like I honestly can say the role that I somewhat on a way lower level play in life. I'm always the protector of my friends, and it's like, no, you got to go through me type of situation. So I've always liked the enforcer role because they were generally the most loyal people of the group. They were all about the group. So my 3 honorable mentions, Mr. Hughes, Curtis Hughes. He was a bodyguard enforcer for a lot of managers through the 80s and early 80s. He pretty much made his career as an enforcer. He didn't have a stable, so that's what kept him off of my list. And a lot of times, like I said, he did stay gainfully employed, which I always say is always a good idea when it comes to wrestling. He was part of I forgot what it was called, Wall Street in the WCW. He was one of those, so I guess that would have been, but the stable was so bad that I didn't want to say that. Samoa Joe, he's only on an honorable mention because he just became the enforcer for Triple H. Even though he has been pretty much bred and built for this role his whole career, he technically, you could have said he was an enforcer for the Main Event Mafia, but not really. This is the first time he's really going to play that destroyer enforcer role. And my third one is, again, a modern day one, of course, or a new one, and I'm starting to love what they're doing with his character now. I give it shout out to Luke Harper, the enforcer of the Wyatt family.
Oh, I didn't even think of Luke Harper. Crap. Okay, I'm amending my list as we speak. I'm like massively amending my list now, thanks.
Yeah.
All right. So, let me give you one moment as I fix my typing. All right, so this was, I had a hard time just, because I was really thinking of people who were in stables. So I have 2 honorable mentions. I only had one a few minutes ago, but I now have 2. And one is the only real, I guess a couple of the others were baby faces at the time, but Kerry Von Erich. back in WCCW, World Class Championship Wrestling, he was the strong man of the Von Erich family. And he was the one that kind of held things together. He was also the pretty boy, but he was the one that was he was the muscle of the group. So to me, I always thought of him as kind of the enforcer. Granted, it's a group of baby faces, white meat baby faces, as white of the whitest meat you could ever find baby faces. But he was one that came to mind. And my other honorable mention is one of two people from New Japan Pro Wrestling is Shibata. Shibata has, if I'm not mistaken, is in one of the big stables in New Japan right now, or has been, and he is the guy that in a group, he is the one that is the guy that stands there and like, you will not F with my friends, ever, I will kill you. So those are my two honorable mentions. Who is your number 5?
My number 5 is former World Heavyweight Champion and enforcer of the group Evolution, Dave Batista.
Oh, good choice. Very good choice.
He is, when you think of like the guy that you don't want to mess with in a group, you looked at the Flair. And Flair was kind of old, but he was still pretty. Triple H was the diamond of the group, and Randy Orton was the lump of coal that they were going to turn into the diamond. Batista was the guy that if you just didn't say anything bad about, because he will hurt you. And I love that about him. I love especially when the enforcer role becomes more, but his time as the enforcer of Evolution is what he's getting credit for, and he was great at it.
All right, very good choice. My number 5 is my other New Japan roster member, and that is Evil, who is a member of Los Ingobernables, or LIJ, as we'll call him. He used to be known as Watanabe, and he is the heavy of that group, and he will just F you up, and he's a badass.
I mean, your name is Evil. I'm thinking you're a badass.
Exactly. I mean, the dude's scary looking, so.
Yeah.
All right, who is your number 4?
My number 4 is the only tag team on this group, and they are unique because even though they weren't in the enforcers for the corporate ministry, they became hired enforcers, where they would enforce for anybody that paid them. The APA, John Bradshaw Layfield, and Ron Simmons, a.k.a. Farouk.
Nice. Very good. My number 4 is one I just totally stole from you, Luke Harper. I can't believe I forgot about him.
Yeah, he's the heavy of the group. You have to fight him before you get to Bray. So
exactly. All right, who's your number 3?
My number 3, and again, this is more of a personal nod because someone that meant a lot growing up. And, of course, I made the rule you couldn't put Arn Anderson on a group. So, for the fabulous Freebirds, Terry Bam Bam Gordy.
Nice. Very nice. See, my list looks really bad compared to yours because you're getting all these...
It's favorite role. That's what I'm like. It's like, I spent time.
You did. And I think for some reason I was thinking of more, like, current wrestlers at first. Never mind. Forget that thought. Anyway, my number 3 is one of the original members of the Bullet Club, and that is Carl Anderson.
Carl Anderson. He was on my list was about 15 long, and he didn't make it because honestly, I have not watched enough Carl Anderson matches before WWE for me to say he meant anything personally to me. But I've heard nothing but good things about his time as a member of the Bullet Club.
Yeah, there you go. All right, who do you have for number 2?
Number 2 will shock everybody because, a lot of people hate him. But he is the guy. He is the big dog in the yard. But his time as the enforcer of the Shield was probably some of the best times he'll ever have, Roman Reigns.
No, that actually makes perfect sense. That was the one time people didn't hate Roman Reigns.
Oh my God, that was his perfect character, his perfect role. Seth and Dean did all the wrestling. He came in and did his 5 to 7 moves, finished him off with that triple powerbomb. It was amazing. It's probably a bigger Roman Reigns mark as possible. I have 2 Roman Reigns shirts and a Shield shirt. So I was really ready to get behind him. I don't hate Roman Reigns. I honestly said, I've always said that. I don't hate Hunter or Roman Reigns. I think that he's miscast right now, but I do enjoy him. I think he's a good in-ring worker, but his time as a member of the Shield, he was just a badass. That's what he did. He came in and he looked at the biggest guy and he punched him in the mouth.
And I will say I still think his best punch ever was that time he was on Miz TV and he just popped Miz right in the mouth, right in the jaw. That was so good. Looked so real. Oh man. My number 2 is a tie. And they're guys whose careers were, for at least a time, were kind of were mixed. So it is Perry Saturn and Chris Benoit. And I'm thinking of the time when they were in the group Revolution in WCW, which was Shane Douglas, Chris Benoit, Perry Saturn, and Dean Malenko. And I think in that group, Perry Saturn was the heavy. He was the enforcer. And then I'm thinking of the Radicals, which was Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn. And I think in that group, Benoit was the enforcer leader of the group. And they both played that part very well because neither of those guys, it didn't matter that they weren't the tallest guys in the world. You did not want to find yourself in a dark alley with them, especially Benoit, considering what we learned that happened later on. But you do not ever want to see those guys in the dark alley. Well, maybe Perry Saturn now, but poor guy, his poor luck. Oh, man. Because WWE didn't know what to do with this guy, and he was so good. He was so good in ECW. He was so good in WCW. When he was part of Raven's flock, he was awesome. He was the enforcer in Raven's flock. And yeah, so those are my number 2.
All right. My big thing, Perry Saturn and Chris Benoit were both on my extended list. I couldn't define Chris Benoit's enforcer role. That's why I didn't put him in. Perry Saturn, I had him as the enforcer of Raven's flock in WCW, and he was a good enforcer. And then they changed his character a lot in that one. So definitely shout out to Perry Saturn. He could have. If let's say I did the list 3 days ago, it was going off the top of my head, he might have been on my list. Number 1 is maybe shocking because he was Shawn Michaels' enforcer. He was the original enforcer of the NWO. And he's just too sweet. Kevin Nash.
You will be shocked and amazed to know that my number 1 is also Big Sexy Kevin Nash.
He played the enforcer role and the leader role for the NWO. He was the enforcer and he was the general. Hulk Hogan was the face of the NWO, but Kevin Nash was the shot caller of the NWO. When they needed to take down Goldberg, they didn't call Hogan, they called Big Sexy. When Shawn Michaels brought him in, Shawn Michaels made the phone call. And this is how much power Shawn Michaels had at the time. Shawn Michaels called down Kevin Nash at WCW and say, do you want to come be my bodyguard? Hadn't even talked to Vince McMahon about it. But he offered Kevin Nash a job. Until this day, I'm not saying Kevin Nash would have been nothing without Shawn Michaels, because who's to say what else would have happened. But old Super Shredder, Kevin Nash, became bodyguard for Shawn Michaels, and the rest is money. I won't even call it history. It was a lot of money.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Well, so I know you like to come up with lists off the top of your head, but I had an idea for next week.
I'm ready.
Okay. Top 5 current tag teams.
All right. I'm down with that. I think our number 1's going to be the same.
Yes.
But hey, I love top 5 current tag teams. I love that one. I got one that you might want to write down. Type 5 180s. Wrestlers that you hated or loved, and then eventually pulled a 180 on.
Let's write that down. We'll do that one in the future.
Yeah, I actually thought about that one. So I didn't come on. So yeah, but I'm down with the tag teams. There's right now we're heading into more of a golden age of tag team wrestling. We got a lot of solid tag teams. We've seen some great tag team matches, and I can honestly say I'm gonna have 3 or 4 honorable mentions because I love tag team wrestling right now.
See, I knew you did, and
it's like the '80s all over again because you had Rock and Roll and Midnight Express. They were battling in the South. You had the Road Warriors traveling everywhere, beating everybody up. Towards the late '80s, you had the Steiners, and it was just a lot of great tag teams. And you had people that were tag team specialists, and now that's what you have now. I don't think American Alpha's ever going to break up. They're tag team specialists. And it's just like WWE just loves to break up tag teams. So I'm going to have a lot to say about a lot of different teams. Gargano and Ciampa, AOP, cutting it down to 5 is going to be hard. I can honestly say that. Because that is one of the few places that you're going to see people from TNA. You're going to see people from ROH. The Addiction might be somewhere on my list, maybe. You're going to see people from New Japan because I just love tag team wrestling that much. I did forget one point as we're wrapping up the show. When Roderick Strong and No Way Jose came out to say, I was like, that's pretty cool. But I feel like that was a perfect place for TM61 to come out, and that would be, use Ty Dillinger to help get them more over.
Yeah,
I just thought it was a missed spot there.
Well, remember, one of them's hurt.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, one of them's out of action for like 6 months.
Oh, that's why they didn't do the thing with the Revival. They didn't do their program with the Revival.
Exactly.
So, I don't remember which one, Shane Thorne or Nick Miller, but whichever one it is, get healthy.
Yeah, I think it's Shane. I think it's Shane Thorne. Shane's the one that is with the longer hair, the better looking of the two. And Nick Miller is the one. I just keep getting the Nick Miller song from New Girl stuck in my head.
Well, that's why they didn't do it that way. So that's cool.
And we also forgot to talk about the Rock and Roll Express going in the WWE Hall of Fame. And
that is a great way to end the show. The Rock and Roll Express, as far as when I was young, they were my first favorite tag team. The double jock kick was considered high flying that day. Back then, they were fast paced, a lot of quick tags, tag team wrestling, and of course they feuded with the Midnight Express. But Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, I looked at them and I told them when I got to meet them last year, I told them, I was like, you set the stage for everybody that we watch wrestle now. I mean, I know Matt and Jeff are actually brothers, but the whole dark hair, blonde hair thing, then you have the Young Bucks, the fitness team rail, the smaller, quicker tag teams. The Rockers were in that. None of that happens if the Rock and Roll Express weren't as over as they were.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I love the fact the Midnight Rockers, Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels were just such a blatant ripoff of both the Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah. And, it's the sincerest form of flattery when they talk about, that was back when you had to earn your money, and they found them a niche. They were both small. They knew they weren't going to ever be heavyweight champions of the world. So, they built them a life tag team wrestling, and they still are active wrestlers. They're both in their late 50s, and they're still active wrestlers.
They were on one of the Delete or Decay, the tag team Final Deletion thing.
And they are, and you just think about how much that means you had to take care of yourself to be able to do it to the day.
Exactly.
And so, shout out to Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, the Rock and Roll Express. Now, as far as the Hall of Fame, rock and roll will live forever.
Agreed. Yeah, I thought it was a great addition. Well, that's going to do it for this week. Don't forget, tomorrow we will have our review of the Elimination Chamber up at youtube.com/AroundTheRingOK. And we're going to watch the show tonight, and we hope to see everyone next week very soon. Don't forget, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, at Around the Ring OK. And you can get the show iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spreaker, all the great platforms. We're there. So check us out, leave us comments, and thanks for listening. Have a great week, everybody.
You've been listening to Around the Ring on the Spark Radio Network.
All you have to do is change your point of view. And believe.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. Damn! Woo!
This sucks more than anything that I've ever fucked before.
What? It's for charity.